Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Today we're going to be taking a look at Wannabe toys released by Flair here in the UK and released by Gabriel toys in the US. Now these were toys released in 1976 and aimed at boys and girls ages 2 and over, and I would guess their nearest equivalent are things like Playmobil and Play People. There were a whole range of these toys released, and each one had a figure in it and a few other little accessories that the child could play with and sort of recreate something that they might want to become in the future. Now some of these were reasonable and sort of realistic things for people to, or sort of children to want to be in the future. Things like a gymnast, a quarterback, pilot, farmer, engineer, doctor, things like that, firefighter. But then there were a few that were a little bit odder, like lion tamer. I can't believe that many children wanted to become a lion tamer. Cowboy. Now again, that's a little bit odd. And if you lived in the US, there was also a licensed version where you could play as the Lone Ranger and Tonto. Now these weren't released in the UK, so they are a US only one. So in front of me here I have 3 box versions of it. As you can see, the first one we have is I Want to Be a Lion Tamer. On the left here you can't see it's I Want to Be a Football Star. Now you can tell this is British because it's a British football game, as the US we'll call it soccer, but over here we call it football. And then the one on the right is I Want to Be a Nurse. So let's open up these boxes and we'll see what sort of things you get inside. All the boxes for these toys are roughly the same. There's a picture on the front of 2 children playing with the toys and then a little bit of information. So here on the lion tamer you have the girl and the boy playing with the lion tamer. You can clearly see that you get the lion tamer, a flaming hoop, a lion and a few other little bits. And on the bottom it says little fun people for little people's fun. There's not a great deal more information on the box. It shows you an image of some other figures that you can get on the side and that you can collect them all. And then on one end it gives you the information for Gabriel toys, which is obviously the US version, and on the other end gives you the information for Flair toys, which is the British release. So let's open this one up and we'll see what's inside it. So inside the box you get the main elements of the toy, which is the little lion tamer here with his flaming hoop. You get a cage to put the lion in. You get a very nice sort of cute little lion there and a little platform thing for him to stand on. There's also a catalogue which shows you all the other toys in the line. I'm not sure if this is everything, so I've seen online other pictures of other ones, but again you can see here the lion tamer, nurse, football star, which are the 3 I'm going to be showing you today. Then there's a pilot, a cowboy, if we turn it over, a train driver and a fireman and a farmer there. There's also a nice little note that I found in the bottom of the box, which is this tiny little note here that says, in case of complaint, please quote, and it's got a number and clearly says made in Great Britain. So that's quite a nice little thing just to still find in the box here. So let's take a closer look at the figures themselves. Now here is the lion tamer. It's a fairly simplistic figure, but actually considering this was made in 1976, it's actually pretty well made. Nothing on it seems to sort of want to come off, so it's nice and sturdy, and it's fairly sort of articulated as well. You can see you can rotate his legs sort of back and forwards, and also his feet rotate round, and his arms are pretty jointed as well, so you can rotate them to the side, up, and also spin them round, and they do clasp quite well onto the flaming ring here, so that's pretty good. And then the lion isn't jointed at all, it's just a little moulded piece there, and it does fit quite nicely inside the cage, just about like that. So obviously once he's been tamed he goes in his cage like that. Overall I actually think it's quite a nice little sort of set. Again, considering its age, it's made pretty well, and the plastic they've used is pretty sort of reasonable. It's pretty sort of sturdy. Some of these Star Wars figures are made out of fairly cheap plastic, but this actually feels pretty good quality. So I think if I was a sort of, well, 2 and over child, maybe even up to about sort of 5 or 6, I would have quite liked getting this. Let's take a look at the other ones that I've got. And here we have the football stars. You can see the figure itself is pretty much the same thing. It's just got a slightly different, well, instead of a hat like the lion tamer, it's got a bit of hair stuck on. The face and everything is pretty similar, and the way it's constructed is exactly the same. This guy comes with a couple of different little elements. He's got a cup, obviously, so when he's won the football match he's got the cup. It comes with a football which looks rather a lot like a sort of chocolate egg that you'd get at Easter, and it has a very strange sort of bit cut out of the back so he can hold it in his hand. So it's not really a ball, and it doesn't roll particularly well because it sort of ends up getting stuck on the sort of the flat bit that he holds. But I guess it works with the toy. It also comes with a bench. I assume that's a bench that he can sit on, so once he's played a game of football and he's tired, he can sit down on that. And then there is this sort of locker with I'm assuming that's a sort of shower head. So because a key part of playing football is obviously having a shower afterwards, and if you're a child, I suppose that's good to learn. Not really sure, but I guess it was something that they were thinking of at the time. Fairly simplistic set. I think I actually prefer the lion table one, just because there's a little bit more to it and you get a little lion. I was never really into football, so this doesn't do it for me. And as I've said before, this is clearly aimed at the British market, because this is football, as we call it here, or soccer as you would refer to it in the US. So this is definitely a British release of this toy. And this is the final set that I have in this collection, and this is I Want to Be a Nurse. So in this one you get a nurse character. Now again, this is exactly the same as the others, although this now has a little sort of nurse's hat and a female sort of set of hair. So this is clearly supposed to be a woman, although nothing in the body has changed. It's exactly the same sort of blocky body. And this comes with a little medical case there, as you can see. A baby that looks rather like it's a sort of drinking flask or something, because it's got a handle on one side. But I guess that's just there so that you can make the character hold it, but it does look a lot like a flask. There's some scales here as well, obviously for weighing the baby once it's been born, and a medical table here. Unfortunately, this has got broken in the box and is missing one of its legs, but it still sort of does the job and shows you what it should be. It's quite a nice set. I do think these have a certain charm about them. They're a lot bigger than you would imagine. When I initially saw them, I thought they'd be quite small, but the figures themselves are probably a similar size to Star Wars figures, so sort of 3 3/4 inches tall, and made out of sort of fairly chunky bits. I guess, you know, if these are aimed at sort of two and up sort of age children, that's why they've got to be quite chunky, so that you've got enough sort of figure to hold. And I would have thought they wouldn't have broken that easily, so they're quite a nice sort of little toy there. On the back here you can clearly see it says Wannabe. Actually says 1975 on the print there, although the boxes say 1976, so I guess they were released sort of developed and released around that time, so 75, 76, just to give you a rough idea. So here we have the figure all together for one final shot. As you can see, they do actually look quite nice. There's a certain charm about the way they're designed. They're fairly simple and fairly blocky sort of characters, but much like Playmobil and Play People, they do look quite nice. I think the box art, the sort of naivety of the box art, the way it's just children playing with toys with a sort of logo and a little bit of information, I like that. I've looked on eBay and you can still get these fairly easily. They only cost sort of up to about £5 for them boxed like this, so they're obviously not that sort of sought after, but I think they are worth collecting. I want to say a big thank you to David Roberts, who donated these to toy-polloi, because it's not something I'd ever looked into, but now I've seen them, I think they're quite nice. So I hope that video has been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter and Facebook.